Disgraced Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, have pleaded not guilty to federal charges in the United States. The couple faces 4 counts, including narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, and possession of and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. During his first federal court appearance since being captured, Maduro said to the judge, quote, "I'm innocent. I'm not guilty. I'm a decent man." Cameras are not allowed inside federal court. Maduro and Flores were transported via helicopter this morning from the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn to the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. The two were brought to New York on Saturday after U.S. forces captured them during an attack on Venezuela's capital city of Caracas. The country's vice president and Maduro's longtime confidant, Delcy Rodriguez, was sworn in today as the interim president. CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman was in court today. She joins us now. Katrina, what happened?
Hi, Lindsay. Great to join you. So we saw Maduro shuffle into court today in his attire from the MDC. His wife was wearing a matching outfit, and they both put on headphones because these proceedings were translated for them. As you said, he stood up in court and pled his innocence. He's actually standing up quite a bit and speaking today, Lindsay. The judge first asked him to confirm his identity. When he did that, Maduro stood up and launched into a speech in Spanish. He talked about how he was captured from his home in Venezuela. The judge stopped him, though, Lindsay, and said that they would have time for that later to discuss the legality of how this was handled. We also learned that he is not yet seeking release. He did reserve the right to request bail later, and the judge encouraged him to do so as soon as he could. And also the judge informed him of his rights, his right to remain silent, to have an attorney, all of his constitutional rights. And Maduro said that he was not aware of those rights until the judge told him about them. Furthermore, we learned from attorneys that Maduro has some health and medical issues that need to be tended to while he's in detention, and that his wife believes that she was injured during what they called her abduction, that she has bruised ribs, so they asked for a medical examination for her as well.
What kind of defense could Maduro and his wife pursue?
Well, for one, his lawyer has already made it clear that they want to contest the legality of his arrest. He says that there's going to be substantial motions practice here. Lindsay, this is absolutely something that we expected. We also expect that he will say, as a sovereign head of state, that he has immunity, that he should not be prosecuted in court here on that basis. We could also see arguments, if it proceeds, about official acts immunity, so immunity for acts while he was in office. There are a number of threshold issues that we will see, along with normal defenses against these criminal charges that are against him.
If you can give us an answer in maybe 30 seconds or so, what is the next date? And also, I'm hearing a lot of activity behind you. Are we seeing protesters on both sides?
Yes, absolutely. There have been major protests here. It was really full, and the police actually put a barricade between the two sides, Lindy, to divide them. The next court date is going to be March 17th, 11 a.m. They're going to discuss this process and how it's going to move forward with the discovery and the rest of the timeline then.
Katrina Kaufman, thank you so much for starting us off. Officials tell CBS News the mission to arrest Maduro took months of planning across multiple agencies. Senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata has that story.
Videos posted to social media show explosions over Venezuela in the early hours of Saturday morning, as American forces executed Operation Absolute Resolve to arrest President Nicolás Maduro and his wife. A source familiar with the operation told CBS News a small team of CIA personnel had been on the ground in Venezuela since August, tracking Maduro's movements.
Where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore.
General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, said the incursion involved more than 150 aircraft launched from 20 different military bases. Kane said soldiers arrived at Maduro's compound just after 1 a.m. Eastern Time. By around 3 a.m. Eastern, he said the Venezuelan leader and his wife had been captured and were en route to the USS Iwo Jima, where this picture of Maduro was taken. Some civilian homes were damaged during the operation, which reportedly killed dozens of people, including 32 Cubans serving government missions.
I mean, I watched it literally like I was watching a television show.
In a Fox News interview on Saturday, President Trump said he watched it all unfold from his Mar-a-Lago estate, adding that commandos had practiced on a replica of Maduro's compound. And Sunday night, he confirmed some U.S. service members had been injured during Saturday's operation.
All are in good shape right now. But I knew there was great danger. They got off the helicopter and the bullets were flying all over the place. As you know, one of the helicopters got hit pretty badly. But we got everything back. Got everything back and nobody killed.
President Trump told reporters on Air Force One Sunday night that acting Venezuelan President Delcy Rodriguez is cooperating with the United States. President Trump added he has not spoken directly to Rodriguez, but administration officials are in contact with her. Despite this, the president says the U.S. is running the Venezuelan government.
We're dealing with the people. We're dealing with the people that just got sworn in. And don't ask me who's in charge, because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
It means we're in charge.
For more, let's bring in CBS News Chief White House Correspondent Nancy Cordes. Nancy, where to begin? We just heard the president say the U.S. is in charge. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Face the Nation Sunday the U.S. won't directly govern the country. What's happening?
A lot of confusion, Lindsay, about what comes next, and it's unclear right now whether this is part of the overall strategy, creating that confusion, sort of a good cop, bad cop situation, so that you keep other leaders on their toes around the world, or whether there truly is a fundamental disagreement within the Trump administration about where to go from here and how involved the U.S. is going to get in the day-to-day workings of the Venezuelan government. Trump's new ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, spoke to the UN Security Council earlier today. He said, quote, "We are not occupying a country," but beyond that, he didn't elaborate on what comes next. We could get some more details later today, Lindsay, because Secretary of State Marco Rubio, along with other U.S. officials, will be briefing lawmakers in the House and Senate, and they're going to have a lot of questions for Rubio about what the plan is going forward, and those lawmakers will also likely have a lot to say after they leave those briefings.
You said possibly keeping other leaders on their toes. What other leaders?
Well, President Trump over the weekend seemed to signal that other countries could be next. Let's start, for example, with Colombia. He said, "Sounds good to me," when he was asked if action in Colombia would be coming next. He said the leader of Colombia is a, quote, "sick man who likes making cocaine." Colombia's leader reacted pretty quickly to that. He posted that he is not illegitimate, that he's not a narco. He said that he and thousands of guerrilla fighters would take up arms if Colombia comes under attack by the United States. And then President Trump also suggestively said that Cuba is ready to fall after this action in Venezuela. And it is true that Cuba rather, is highly dependent on Venezuela for oil. Their economies are very closely linked. That led Cuba's foreign minister to say that the overthrow of Maduro this weekend creates an existential dilemma for the survival of Cuba. He has asked neighboring countries for support. But again, it's unclear at this point just how serious President Trump was when he made those threats.
Nancy Cordes, thank you. There is a lot of reaction across the U.S. about Maduro's capture, and it's been mixed. Some have expressed outrage over the operation, but many Venezuelans living outside their home country are celebrating.
Today, I feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's some hope.
It's a dream come true for all Venezuelans. We have been waiting for this moment for too many years.
Trump promised in the 2024 election that he was going to be a president for peace, and you don't get peace through war. You get death, destruction, PTSD.
So outrageous seeing that our tax dollars are being used for this outrageous act of bombing another country and a sovereign nation.
Some critics say they're worried the White House could target other Latin countries next. Meanwhile, CBS News spoke to members of the Venezuelan community in Doral, Florida, who celebrated the operation over the weekend. They told our Christian Benavides if they thought Venezuela could get to a point of true freedom and democracy, they would rather go back than remain in the U.S. As Nancy alluded to, both chambers of Congress are back in session today, and the Trump administration is expected to brief some members of the House and Senate later this afternoon on the strikes in Venezuela and Maduro's arrest. Here's what two of the lawmakers who will be at the briefing had to say.
We've got to make sure that the people who are now in charge of the apparatus of the Venezuelan government are not going to continue Nicolás Maduro's way.
The Constitution is really pretty clear that the representatives of the people get to be consulted and ultimately approve military activity. That has not happened here at all.
Let's turn to CBS News Congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns. Caitlin, members of both parties are pushing for a war powers resolution of some kind in Congress. What does that mean?
Hey, Lindsay, it's great to see you. Well, Tim Kaine, a Democrat from Virginia, has been pushing for this war powers resolution for some time now. Senator Rand Paul, a Republican of Kentucky, is a co-sponsor of that effort. And you may remember back in November, they tried to pass a war powers resolution and it failed. They only got 2 Republicans to sign on to it, in addition to Paul, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. And so it didn't go anywhere. It wasn't able to pass. The House also took up a similar measure. And again, that time in December, only 2 Republicans voted for it. So it did not pass. Now, Senator Kaine on CBS Mornings earlier today said that he hopes that these recent events, of course, might spur other lawmakers to join in this effort. And this effort is basically a resolution that says that there can be no further action in Venezuela without congressional oversight and authority. And Lindsay, just to take a step back, Congress has really ceded its authority when it comes to war powers for a while now, predating Trump. And you've had a small group of lawmakers up here over the past several months who have tried to reassert Congress's authority on these issues. And they're hoping that they can gain further momentum. But Lindsay, I can say that as it stands right now, this is unlikely to pass. And even if it did pass through the Senate and the House, which again, a long shot here, it would still have to be signed into law by the president. And the administration has made clear that they are describing this as a law enforcement effort, not a military one, though there are lots of critiques and questions about the parameters of that as well.
Are you noticing any lawmakers crossing the aisles, Democrats who are applauding this decision, Republicans who are coming out against it? And what else should we know about this briefing?
Yeah, Lindsay, I mean, you can imagine that the responses to this decision to go into Venezuela and take Maduro has fallen along party lines by and large. But you do have some Republicans who say they are supportive of taking Maduro out, while also saying that they have more questions about what the end game is here. And Lindsay, I know you and I talked before the holidays about briefings that Congress was getting about those Venezuelan boat strikes. You know, there was a lot of concern among lawmakers that they weren't getting answers from the administration about what the strategy and end goals were that the administration had for Venezuela. Those questions still remain because the president says that there could be boots on the ground. What does that look like? The president also says that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela. What does that look like? There are also concerns or questions that lawmakers from both parties have about, are there other strikes that are going to happen? Are there other countries where we may see a similar action taken? So a lot of questions. This is a smaller group of lawmakers, kind of the highest ranking and those who have the highest security briefings and are heads of various committees, as well as congressional leaders.
Caitlin Huey-Burns, thank you.